historic universities of Oxford and Cambridge are among the oldest seats of learning in the world. Oxford, the oldest English-speaking university, was home to some form of teaching from as far back as 1096. Now comprising 35 colleges, the university is world-renowned as a centre for learning and a forum for intellectual debate. In 1209, scholars taking refuge from hostile Oxford townsfolk congregated in Cambridge for the purpose of study. But it wasn't until 1284 that the first College of Cambridge was founded. One of the largest universities in the United Kingdom, Cambridge also has a worldwide reputation for its outstanding intellectual and academic achievements. The first varsity match between the two universities was a game of cricket in 1827. Rowing, then rugby, soon followed, and thus the varsity tradition was born. By the mid-19th century, the 40-a-side mob game called rugby had developed into a more controlled 20-a-side game. And in 1869, the Oxford University Rugby Club was founded. It predates the founding of the Rugby Football Union by 15 months, making it the oldest rugby club in the UK. Cambridge founded their own rugby club in 1872, and that same year saw the first of the annual varsity rugby matches, played in University Parks, Oxford. Numerous neutral venues followed, including the Oval and Queen's Club, until in 1921, its huge and burgeoning popularity demanded a larger arena. Relocated to Twickenham in 1921, the match is now played in front of over 50,000 spectators and a global television audience of millions. Traditionally, a breeding ground for international honours, the varsity match has been a springboard for some of the world's great players. Since its humble beginnings, the annual challenge has produced over 600 Blues who've gone on to play for their countries. In 2002, against the odds, Cambridge held on to the narrowest of leads to win the 121st annual varsity rugby match. Oxford, led off by captain Fraser Gemmell, were going for 4 wins in a row, something not achieved for over 50 years.
Cheers, boys.
With the sole exception of test matches, no other rugby match, amateur or professional, can attract such crowds and celebrity. A year of preparation for just one game, one chance, win or lose.
When you lose, it's a tremendous letdown, obviously, because that's what you've built up for. It was a very frustrating game from Oxford's point of view, because Cambridge got an early lead, Oxford dominated the second half, we got back very close to Cambridge, we just didn't have enough time to get the winning score. So it must have been intensely disappointing to Fraser, I know it was. And yet, by the time that we got to the dinner in the evening, he pulled himself up, he got the thing into perspective, he was generous to the Cambridge side, generous to the team, and I thought that the speech he made at the dinner, really, he rose even further in stature. It was a magnificently mature effort for somebody of his age.
Well, President, Chairman, ladies and gentlemen, it is a defeated captain that I stand up in front of you tonight, but it is as a very proud and honoured captain that I do so. Today's result, whilst completely gutting, should not and will not surpass the journey that this team has taken.
Recognise someone who achieved their first blue today, and that was Fergie Allen Gladstone. And if we have Gasman, do you want to do the honours, mate? So very special, Ferg. Well done, mate. Phil.
Dust settles 2 weeks from now, you can look back on this time and be very proud of the way you've conducted yourselves. Yeah. Very proud. I think one of the great challenges that I've faced as a leader and that any leader will face is bringing a group of very diverse individuals, which is what Oxford University Rugby Football Club is, together in a very short space of time. And one way or another, we've forged a team that is so tight and so cohesive. You will remember today for the rest of your life for what you did on the field. And no one can ever take that away from you.
Traditionally, the arrival of a new year marks the election of a new captain. On a cold January evening, the Cambridge Blues assemble at their clubhouse in Grange Road to decide on their new leader.
It was obviously a huge honour, but I remember walking out of the room and thinking, what have I got myself in for here?
Please can you gather around? Well, gentlemen, we're here this evening. It's a very important business. It's important you select the right person to take you through next year.
Only those club members who actually played at Twickenham the previous year are eligible to vote. On this occasion, there are 3 candidates, previously proposed and seconded by other members of the team. The nominations are debated in private session. Chaired by the president of the club, who has no voting rights himself, a majority decision will decide who is to become the new captain.
Welcome back, gentlemen. I'd like to begin by saying to all the candidates, it's been one of those amazing discussions. Such as the quality of you all, it's been incredibly difficult. That's why it's taken such a long time. So the things that have been said about you, if your ears weren't burning, they really should have been. And the winner is Stu. So Stu, you are the new captain for the next year. Congratulations.
When I got it, I was absolutely flabbergasted. It was, I hadn't really expected to be elected, but yeah, it was pretty special in respect that to be held in that regard by your peers.
The last few years we've opted to push the selection of the captain back to February, and that allows guys who are going for the captaincy to actually captain the side in the Hillary term and have a chance to do that, and then decide whether they are actually up for it, whether they want to do it, and players obviously get the chance to see them as captain before they vote.
Let's go, guys. Couple of minutes.
Being elected captain is a moment I'll never ever forget. That was, again, a feeling of pure numbness, of a great sense of achievement. What on earth have I got myself into? You're a coach, you're a captain, you're a mentor, you're on the executive committee, you're doing everything.
We used to select the captain straight after the match, and so we selected the captain next morning.
In previous years, the selection of captain occurred the day after the varsity match, but that obviously had its problems with guys turning up drunk or whatever, or forgetting a thing was even on. The Blues squad from the previous varsity match assemble in the pavilion at Iffley Road, and each of the nominees present their manifesto.
It's a very different system to any other that I've experienced. I mean, I have captained I captained the Brumbies for 4 or 5 years as a professional, and I captained Australia on tour. And you know, the captaincy in that environment is often selected through the coaching staff, and the difference with Oxford is that your players select you. There's a process where you put forward a nomination, you present an argument to the team, they ask you questions, and we're not talking. You know, we're talking about NASA PhD students, so the questions are quite insightful, challenging, and you can really fall over.
The captain holds a vital part within the club structure, the leadership of the structure, and I mean, right from selection to sponsorship, running right through the club, not just the Blues. You're seen as being the key function within the club, so a huge amount rides on it. Right, guys, grueling process. You know how important it was, and I think you've now left your legacy to the club. And on that note, I'd like to say the 2003 Blues captain is John Allen.
You can't describe it. It was amazing standing there and just receiving applause and realising that this group of guys who are so special to you have actually given you the chance to lead them. And it gives you a lot of confidence coming in as captain, knowing you have the players behind you, rather than just being appointed as captain by a board or a committee.
The ability of both Oxford and Cambridge to attract top-flight international student teams remains a vital part of the varsity build-up. Oxford aim to close their season with a convincing win against a top Japanese university side. Memories of the varsity linger, but the next campaign draws near, and everyone must fight for their place. Things are looking good. Kanto Gakuin University are dominated with style. But captain and coaches know that focus is everything, and overconfidence on varsity day could lead to disaster. The win against Kanto is Fraser Gemmell's last for the Blues. Academic pressures must now be addressed ahead of rugby, and he will play no more part in the team's varsity campaign. He leaves the team as a losing varsity captain, and for him, today's win and match ball are little compensation. John Allen must now steer the team to victory in the next Twickenham confrontation. Sidelined by injury, Stu Eru, the new Cambridge captain, watches anxiously as his team have a much tougher time against formidable South African opposition. Last year's captain, Duncan Blaikie, scores for the final time. For him too, the varsity campaign is over. From now on, a bystander, he can only watch and wait as the team prepare to defend their title.
We see the Oxford-Cambridge game on TV and it's a huge spectacle, 50,000, 60,000 people. I think for us to come and play against Oxford and Cambridge, especially Cambridge today, I think it's really special.
The annual boat race pits the two universities against each other once more. As many as 250,000 people will line the route along the Thames to watch the 149th challenge. Both rugby teams have travelled down to Putney and West London to lend their support and to cheer on their respective boat clubs.
Just come the bridge!
It's a regular social event for the many thousands of students who attend. But for the players, it's also a rare chance to relax and soak up the atmosphere without the pressure of competing. A narrow win for Oxford by just 1 foot may be a portent of things to come.
On the day, our big day in December, we expect the rowers there, and they certainly turn out in numbers, and it's great to know we have their support.
I suppose it's the experience as well, but also 2 of the rowers in the starting 8 for Oxford are on our course, mine and John's course, so it's nice to see them in action. So they put in so much graft throughout the year.
And the way the boys held on there and won by such a small margin, at the end of the day, that's all you're after in the varsity match. A 1-point win's going to make or break a year, and so any inspiration you can get is certainly going to be beneficial.
Hanging like a sword, the pursuit of academic excellence remains at the top of the Oxbridge agenda.
As a 4th year vet student, it is pretty hectic fitting in the rugby around studying, for sure. In the first couple of years of vet medicine, you're based predominantly in the town centre, learning sort of preclinical science, which is you have about 30 to 35 hours a week of contact time, compared to sort of 6 hours perhaps for
your sort of average English student or something of that nature. So even fitting in rugby at that level when I was sort of doing under-21s and things was pretty hectic.
I think there has always been a misunderstanding and a perception from outside that if you're in the rowing boat, or if you're in the cricket team or the rugby team or the football team, you know, you get let off and you don't actually do any work. That's just complete rubbish.
I had some very brilliant men in my team, 3 or 4 PhD students. You know, our inside centre for the varsity match was on a PhD scholarship from NASA, and he was designing equipment to find water on Mars. You know, so if you can tell me that's an easy ride, then you know, I think you're kidding yourself.
I was unlucky enough to be doing medicine, which meant I had 4 lectures every morning and 2 hours of practical, and then another lecture, you know, every second evening. And it really upset me that people doing geography seemed to have 1 lecture a week and 2 tutorials, and they had to do a bit of casework apart from that.
Obviously, the captaincy of Oxford will be the priority for Michaelmas term, and academic work can be picked up in the holidays.
Well, I think he has shown his ability to organise his life, and I think he knows when he's got examinations coming up now, and he will be concentrating on a thesis next year. And of course, if you're working on a thesis, you organise the time yourself. He gets on very well with the supervisor, and I think he can have a very good year as captain, as well as ending up with a very good degree.
So this is a big term for my studies, and of course everyone's studies, and working toward final examinations or whatever people are doing. But time management is the key, and at times you feel like you're chasing your tail and you're a day behind where you'd like to be. But when you do get a little bit stressed from time to time and concerned about how things are going and juggling things, you realise what you're doing and the opportunities that you're pursuing.
I try and split my mornings up. I try and do most of my admin side of things before 10 in the morning, and then get straight into my schoolwork if I can. Sometimes it doesn't happen like that. You've got to be a bit flexible. Obviously you have meetings to attend, so I try and work around that. But yeah, it takes up quite a lot of time.
Nobody gets into Oxford just because they're a good athlete. Characteristic of anybody who gets into Oxford or Cambridge is they must be able to cut the bacon academically, and it's of course a very high standard.
You have to do your work, and you tended to find, and I'm sure you still do, that the people who are being successful at sport are successful because they're determined individuals.
So they are competitive people, and they want to do well. Or, as we stress, they have to do well. Rugby is just, you know, it's just a sport, but they've got to do well on the academic side, and they'll hopefully well on the sporting side as well.
You have a lot of great players applying, but they miss out because they just don't make the grade.
My mum, dad, sister, brother, Trinity Hall, Emmanuel and Homerton. So dad was Emmanuel, captain Cambridge in '63 with the likes of Mike Gibson and Nick Drake-Lee. So yeah, a bit of a history, Greenwood history to Cambridge, just I missed out.
As the natural selection and breeding ground for the Blues teams, college rugby is played and fiercely competed throughout both universities. While the setting may be more modest and the attendance a fraction of the Twickenham numbers, the Cuppers final at Cambridge, the final of the Inter-College Championship, lacks nothing of the intensity of the Varsity, or indeed the enthusiasm and passion of the crowd. The vital traditions of both universities continue to be firmly upheld. The celebrations marking the end of the rugby season are important diary events. And while the venues for such grand occasions may change yearly, the splendour of the settings remains a constant reminder of the history and traditions that have gone before. The Oxford Rugby Club dinner traditionally gives the new captain an opportunity to reflect on the old season and deliver his vision for the new. In his first formal speech as club captain, John Allen, aware of the heavy burden placed on him to succeed, is keen not to dwell on the recent loss, but rather to concentrate on the future.
Good evening, everyone. Thanks for the introduction, Lord Butler. I feared when you were speaking of the previous captains that you were going to say the one thing missing is a British passport. It is true that you have an Antipodean as a captain, but you have a very proud one. And I mean, just to stand here in this setting, in this environment, in front of you as the captain of OURFC is a wonderful privilege and a wonderful honour. I know I speak for the rest of us in the room when I suggest that it's that gut-wrenching feeling of a loss at Twickenham that inspires us on to greater things next year, and I hope that we all remember and take a piece of that in working towards victory next year.
The Cambridge team convene in one of the local pubs to say goodbye to Peter Jenkins, who's finished a degree at Cambridge and is starting another one at Oxford.
Tonight's my farewell night. Most of them have been pretty good about it, actually. I thought some would take it quite badly, but no, I think they realise the decision's probably a good one. I'm leaving because I've done 4 years here now, and I want to do a medical course, so I'm going off to Oxford. Obviously, they say you're going to knock my head off when I play them in December, hopefully. But apart from that, no, I think they just see it's going to be competitive, and I think both people are going to want to win, and obviously I'm going to change